Hello students. As you know that we are discussing the chapter Globalization. So in the first two videos I've discussed with you people the concept of globalization with certain examples with it, and also I have talked about the causes of this globalization. What are the different causes and the different factors that had led to globalization. And I've also mentioned the political consequences of globalization, also both the positive and the negative political consequences have been discussed. So today I am going to start another topic, that is economic consequences. So whenever we are talking about globalization, we say globalization is all about trade. It's all about goods and services that is being, transport, or uh, just goods and services that is being utilized in the next part of the globe. Okay, the goods that we are using from different countries, or the goods which the different countries are being, they're taking us. So that is just a part of globalization. Whenever we think about globalization, we think that's it, it's all about globalization. But no, there are different consequences, there are different impacts, there are different, arenas that to be looked upon. But today we are talking about economic, and this is one of the largest part of globalization. That is why we say it's all about trade economically. But the mention of global economic globalization, it draws our attention immediately to a role of IMF, World Bank, WTO. These are the economic institutions that is working at the world level. Okay, they are looking after the disputes related to the international trade. They are making policies of the international trade. They are looking after, you know, all the economic policies of different countries. They are manipulating the decisions of different countries. So these are the institutions at the world level. So this is just a narrow concept of economic globalization when we talk about IMF, that is International Monetary Fund, and WTO, World Trade Organization. Yet globalization is just not that. We have to see globalization at broader terms too. When we talk about globalization economically at broader terms, we see which country is gaining more quantitatively, which country is earning more, or which country is gaining more from the globalization, and which country is having a loss. All right, so what is often called economic globalization involves flows, economic flows. So already I've talked about the different flows: people, commodities, ideas, and capital. So these are the different flows. So we'll take these flows in economic conditions and we'll try to understand. Alright, so globalization has involved greater trade in commodities across the globe. Commodities, goods. Okay, so earlier the restriction that was imposed by different countries on allowing the import of other countries have been reduced, because see, the interdependence among the countries has been increased, because none of the countries of the globe is self-sufficient. They need something or they lack something in themselves, so that is why they import certain commodities. And this is the reason why they have reduced the tax, because they need certain things. That is why whenever they are exporting or importing anything, the duties or the taxes has been less. Similarly, the restrictions on the movement of capital or the money across the globe has also been reduced. So the access, or the transport or the movement of commodities, capital has been easier than it was earlier, because earlier countries were just not confident about the import and export. All right, but as the pace of globalization increase, they gain the confidence, and now you can see how countries are actually, supporting the cause of globalization. So it means that investors in the rich countries can invest their money in countries other than their own. All right, because there may be investors who are interested in commodities which is not available in their country, but it is available in some other country. So in order to gather their interest, in order to manifest good things, they are investing elsewhere. So globalization is a term which is making everything possible. So globalization has also led to the flow of ideas. All right, so what has uh, helped globalization to express or to transport ideas? Or it's all the credit goes to our computer or the internet facilities. Yes or no? Because once you click a YouTube video on certain information, you get an ample number of videos on a single topic. So this is all done possible by our internet or the computer access that everyone is having. Most of them are having. Most of the developed countries, they are having the access. So globalization is just helping or aiding. Developed countries have carefully guarded their borders, and when we talk about people, movement of people, see, uh, visas. You know that in order to travel to any different outside country, you have to get visas. So some countries, they are very strict about their visas. Okay, they don't allow a large amount of people in their country, just a handful of people, and that too you have to wait a lot for the visas, like America or any developed country. Okay, we must have remember how Donald Trump had had put restrictions on the visas, like not to import or not to migrate into their country, because they want to protect their own territory or the cultural existence or the jobs that is there in their country. Okay, so in order to protect the rights, the visas policies are strict sometimes. Still, nowadays we travel to different parts of the world. It is being made possible by globalization again. Now, in thinking about the consequences of globalization, it is necessary to keep in mind that some set of policies do not lead to the same results everywhere, because every country has been impacted with globalization differently. Different countries, different parts of the world is having different impact on themselves. Okay, now negatively talking about globalization, it benefited only a small section of population, that is the rich class, who have, okay, who are rich and who have the capability or who gets the opportunity to get rich every time, while the people who are dependent on the government for jobs and welfare, they are negatively impacted. All right, so that is why there is a concept of social safety needs or institutional safeguards in order to minimize the negative effects of globalization. Okay, see, globalization has impacted people differently. The rich people or the well well developed people who are earning, they are earning with globalization. But what about the people who are poor, who gets their food, who gets their daily means from the schemes like a PDS system, like ICDS, midday meal? What about them? So in order to have a little amount of compassion, or you can say in order to look after the entire population, there should be some safety needs nets for the people in order to protect them. Safety nets in the form of policies or schemes through government. all right. And globalization has also been criticized as new colonization. Colonization, I've discussed like the Britishers or the Europeans, that they have come to India and they have captured India and made India as a colony. Okay, so globalization is a new form of colonization or controlling different countries of the world economically. So now let's just go to the economic consequences, that is positive consequences. Now, who supports this economic globalization? They argue that it generates greater economic growth and welfare or well-being of larger section of the people. Okay, whenever there is deregulation of economy, they have impacted, the people are getting well being, all right, and they are having the economic growth. Okay, and greater trade among countries. So globalization is resulted in greater trade among the countries. Now economies are doing good, okay, in the name of globalization, and they would also benefit the whole world. So countries which are rich in mineral resources or oils or any technological advancement, so they can just import and export and just increase their economy with just selling off the things which they are good in. Okay, and nowadays they are arguing that it is inevitable without globalization, like we cannot just survive without globalization is our need. Okay, these are said by who support globalization. And some moderate supporters, they say that globalization provides a challenge that can be responded to intelligently without accepting it uncritically. So it means that it is a challenge that must be responded very intelligently, and we must not just criticize globalization. Okay, and increase momentum towards interdependence and integration among government, business, has resulted in globalization. Okay, so this is it of economic consequences. In the next video I'm going to cover cultural consequences. So thank you.